Glenn with Infinitas. I've got Jeff Shipley, who's the CEO of Raven, which is a leading cybersecurity services company. They take care of actually quite a few behind-the-scenes government entities and companies across the country, and you do some international work and have people kind of any place needed where needed, on the spot, on the fly, if you will. So zero-day attacks, that's kind of the new buzz thing, concern, major thing that's kind of starting to get people wound up.
It's right now in the industry, it's really the scariest thing that we're coming up against right now. So for those of you that don't know, a zero-day attack is basically an attack that no one's ever seen in the wild before. So where traditionally tools in the market would look for, we know about this malware, we know about this virus, we know about those things. So we'll look for what they call signatures of known things, and we'll prevent those. And they do all those tools do a very good job of doing that. But what we're seeing now in the industry is the adversaries, hackers, whatever you want to call them, bad guys, they're creating things, throwing them into the wild, and a zero-day attack will kick off, and there's really no prevention for it.
Okay.
So they execute before there's any known way to stop them. And so that's where we're seeing the traction. Those zero-day attacks generally turn into a ransomware type attack, where ransomware is they will encrypt your data and they will hold it hostage unless you pay them, generally in some form of cryptocurrency. The downside to that is you can pay that cryptocurrency. It's very, very expensive. They may or may not be able to unencrypt that data.
I was going to say, what's the guarantee they're going to actually release your information?
once that money's gone, it's gone. There's no way to get it back. So to make matters worse, to put salt in the wound, is that now you're on a list that is sold to lots of bad guys. That says, hey, this is a company that will pay.
Wow.
So you will get attacked again. So.
Goodness gracious, that's terrible. So you mentioned a couple things I thought I'd dive in a little bit further on. So, and I probably should say, as we record this, it's August 18th, 2021, and we've had some pretty big news attacks at the United States level, national level, in the last few months. And would you kind of describe what happened with the pipeline shutdown?
Yeah, there is some misinformation out there about the Colonial Pipeline.
Right.
So what actually happened? There's two things. So we work a lot with utilities, and they're a unique beast in themselves, because when you think of IT, there's certain network things that most businesses use to connect their computers, the internet, all those things. With public utilities like Colonial Pipeline, they have what's called OT instead of IT. And so OT is operational technology. It's a very different network. It's a different protocol. It's very, very sensitive. And there are not a lot of security tools in the market that can actually monitor those things, nor have people thought about security when it comes to OT networks.
Okay.
So what happened at Colonial was, it was not an attack on the pipeline itself and the OT network, the water distribution,
the actual functionality of it was
right. It was actually an attack on their back office IT.
Okay.
And fortunately for some quick thinking at Colonial said, we have something, it looks bad, we're not sure what it is, we don't want it to get to our pipeline, so they unplugged everything.
Okay.
So a lot of people think that the pipeline itself was attacked. It was not. It was, the gas was shut down, causing a massive panic and all that. But anyway, it was quick thinking on their part to shut that down, to make sure it didn't get to the gas pipeline.
Okay, so. Super. Then the other one that's come up fairly recently, a little bit more recent than that one, was the beef producer, or the meat producing company. Right. What happened with that situation?
Similar situation. And what we're seeing, we can talk in generalities about everything. We're seeing not just the meat packing industry. But the hackers are obviously they're going for least effort, and so we do a lot of work with we're seeing a lot of things go on right now in the major municipalities in the nation. So we're working with a lot of them because they are a very distributed model. So when you think about a municipality, you've got pools and libraries, and I mean, there's all these
a lot of different types of applications.
Yeah, and
turnpikes and
right, and again,
airports,
most
so
of
on and so
those
forth.
individual locations don't have IT or security professionals, and in those areas, you have a central, CIO, CTO, security team for the municipality. But what we're seeing is the bad guys are definitely going after people. You talk about governments, you talk about big industry, people with lots and lots of money, bankroll to spend millions and millions of dollars on security. Obviously, that there are attacks going on there, nation states, those kind of attacks. But we're also seeing it in school districts. School districts is a really scary one. Hospitals,
financial services,
those obvious ones. Mom and pop bakeries,
wow,
gas stations. Religious organizations, nonprofits are getting hammered right now. So.
Now, the key to that, because I know that you guys have a crisis management type, I mean, you've got a preventative program,
Right.
which is the key. But if, let's say somebody knows of you, but maybe they're not a client right now, but hey, we just got hacked. What should somebody do? What can you do? What's the time frame? Things like that?
Hopefully, they have a incident response plan in place. They've got processes to know who to contact, whether it's corporate communications, whether it's PR, whether it's legal, what their incident response security team is to come in and basically stop the bleeding and do the forensics and protect them going on.
That's kind of what you guys do, right?
Right. What we have experienced in the industry is that a lot of people haven't thought about that because it hasn't happened to them.
Sure.
So we really try to take a proactive approach by coming in and saying, let's focus on a security framework. Let's improve your security posture. There's a lot of assessments and audits that lots of security companies out there will come in and do an assessment. And I generally will, unless it's compliance driven, I will tell people, if you've never had a security assessment, don't do it. Because what you're going to get is punched in the eye. And then we're going to tell you all the bad things, and then you're going to have to try to figure out how to fix it.
So some people are going to come in, they're going to do a security assessment, and they're going to try and sell their particular product.
Right.
You take a different approach than that.
Right. We're not a product company. We're a services company. We have a lot of partnerships with security teams, but in our opinion, a firewall is a firewall. Endpoint protection is endpoint protection. Our job, what we try to do is go in and make sure that you're leveraging the investment you've already made in those technologies.
You know how to use it, how to put it in place.
Make sure it's configured correctly. Make sure you have enough eyes on those things, because monitoring is great, but it's not so great if no one's actually watching what's going on. So we really pride ourselves on right sizing. Technology. So a mom and pop bakery may be a little bit different than the DoD, right?
Sure.
So
I can't imagine why.
But again, it all comes back to security really is all about risk, and so we try to help people understand what is your risk, what is your risk tolerance, what is the data that's at risk, how much time or money can your business be down. A large municipality, they might be able to be down for a week. Probably not, but they might be.
Sure.
A mom and pop bakery, and I use that one all the time, is if they're down for a day, it might be the end of their business.
Right.
If they get ransomware and they have to pay $100,000 to get their data back, they may not have that money and they're out of business. And so we see that a lot especially with manufacturing companies, especially generational manufacturing companies that have been around for a long, long time.
A lot of stuff's out of date.
Yeah, they really haven't had to focus on security or IT, and they just don't have the plan in place. So that's what we try to do. We really try to, what we say, teach people to fish.
Right.
So some security companies will want to come in and do everything for you, and that's fine. And no problem with that. That's just not how we operate. Ours is more about, let us show you what you don't know. Let us bring you along for the journey. Let us be an extension of your team.
Okay.
So but yeah, it absolutely is a very scary time out there, because the key is, again, you've heard this time and time again, is it's not if I'm going to get hacked, it's when.
It's when, yeah.
And the key to that is, one, building making sure that, and we call it, make sure you've got good IT hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you have your controls in place.
Okay.
We focus, all of our customers on CSC's top 20. It's actually now 18. They just changed it, but making sure all those controls are in place.
So for layman, what does that mean? Break that
Yeah,
down.
so controls around, from a technology perspective,
Mm-hmm.
is one piece of it, which people do a decent job of buying technology and putting in. There's some really great technology out there. We're completely tool agnostic again, so
Right.
we don't really care what it is. Let's make sure you have those controls in place. But where it falls down and where people get hurt is, it's not just about the technology, it's about the processes. So make sure that you have your processes in place. Make sure you have your procedures and your standards in place. What is your password policy
Mm-hmm.
written on paper? What are you
Right.
actually implementing? And we see a lot of differences there. And then the final one is the human firewall. That's where most of the breaches are happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
People are really, really good at social engineering, meaning they'll send an email that says, click here, you've got money available.
Mm-hmm. Somebody clicks on it, now they've got spyware or
Right,
malware.
right.
inside.
And so making sure that you do the proper amount of security awareness training for your people on an ongoing basis. Make sure that you practice your incident response. Make sure you practice your business continuity. So if something were to happen, and I talk about it like a fire drill, you can put signs up in front of the elevators that say don't use the elevator. You can publish things in your on your local intranet to educate people. But if you don't practice that fire drill and a fire really happens or a tornado happens,
Mm-hmm.
people are going to panic and they're going to make bad decisions. And
Right.
so we look at it the same way from an IT perspective, is make sure you practice how do you get back up if something breaks. For years we did what we call tabletop exercises, where we actually practiced for what if a pandemic happens and no
Mhm.
one can come to work.
Right.
At that time,
You did it before anything happened.
way long ago, right? And I honestly, during that time, I was like,
Oh,
this is
no
so dumb.
problem.
This is never going to happen, right? So, but anyway, so it's that unknown. Again, this kind of circles back to the 0 day. How do you fight what you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do you fight the unknown?
Right.
And I think we've come up with a pretty good solution to that, and it largely revolves around and I won't get technical about it, but it largely revolves around understand what's normal
Mm-hmm.
and look for anomalies.
Okay.
Don't look for bad things, just look for anomalies. And anomalies may just be an anomaly. It may just be you have a big process running or something, or it may be something bad. But
Right.
look for anomalies, not for the things
Mm-hmm.
that are known in the wild. So
This kind of going backwards. So, the internet came about, late last century, and then you had the dot-com bubble and all these type of things happening, then you had 9/11. The continuity of what happens, like at 9/11, when the Twin Towers got hit, there were several companies that lost a lot of their teams there and didn't have any way to go to another location, stay in business. A lot of them were out of business, if not when it happened, within 6 months to a year. And so that became a big thing that, okay, now you need to have a backup plan. What if you have a tornado or an earthquake or some of those situations, heaven forbid another terrorist attack or whatever, how do you, get yourself where you can remote ready,
Right.
that type of thing. So
right.
that was really big. And now it's all the, the bad actors out there.
The other thing too, we shouldn't miss talking about is cybersecurity insurance.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So that is something that we recommend to every single customer, every company that's out there. But that's a fairly new insurance product.
Okay.
So the underwriting of that is not a science yet. There's not actuarial tables for it.
Right.
But so what we do for a lot of companies is we recommend it. If you already have it, let us take a look at it. Make sure that you've right-sized that because we see a lot of companies that, we have cyber insurance. Oh, great. Right. Well, how much?
Right. And what does it cover? What does it not cover?
Right. And
believe it or not, the policy's not going to say what it doesn't cover.
Right. And there is a lot of fine print that people need to pay attention to. That if you're not following those guidelines, it will not pay. If it does pay, people have a $50,000 policy for cyber insurance.
Well, that $200,000 or whatever.
Right. That might cover you doing the triage and stopping the bleeding and stuff like that. It doesn't come anywhere close to if you have to rebuild your entire infrastructure. It doesn't cover the impact to your business from a marketability, from a press perspective,
right,
and loss of business, downtime, those kind of things. So I don't think people should go overboard on it, but I also it's sad to see some of these family-owned businesses that the policy wasn't enough to keep them in business after these attacks. So,
from a private client standpoint or a private individual standpoint, they can do silly things that exposes their data, and then the Social Security, they get breached and the bank account gets wiped out, or they're sending mortgage stuff to over the internet, and then somebody took over their email. What do they do to protect themselves? What's common?
I don't see it as being that much different than working with a corporation. It really is a risk base. We all take risks every day. We text people, we email people, as opposed to getting in our car and go driving there, and there's risk in driving there too, right? So it's a risk reward kind of thing. You're posting things on Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that. So with individuals, so we'll say just the private individual. And I like to think of the parents and the older generation sometimes too, but the younger generation is extremely more risk taking when it comes to what they're posting online. But talking to older individuals, and everybody loves Facebook, and they like to show off their vacation pics and all that. That's fine. Just
look at me. I'm in Australia. By the way, my birthday's today.
Yeah. How about you wait? How about you wait till you get home and then post the pictures? Right. Don't advertise that you're not at your house. Just simple things like that. I always recommend extremely strong passwords. Passwords are so easy to hack.
So tell us what a strong password is. Most people should know, because a lot of things make you do certain things to make it stronger when you set your passcode up.
So
8, 10, 12 characters, multiple things, big caps, small caps, numbers, they're all of those.
You can pick whatever number of characters you want, right? So 8 to 12, whatever. The biggest mistake I see is that when people do make tough passwords, strong passwords, they can't remember them, so they write them down on a Post-it note and stick it under their keyboard or around the house, right? That's really not secure. So I recommend to even individuals, there's a lot of really good apps out there that are password vaults that will generate extremely strong passwords for you. And all you have to do is remember your one to get to all those.
The
LastPass is a fantastic one.
Yeah.
And to me, that's an easy thing to do, right? You don't have to be technology advanced to download one.
Somebody like me could even do it, right?
Right, and your browser opens up. You go to a website. Little button there. You click, say you want to generate a password. It does. It saves it. And it's really convenient. I honestly couldn't live without it. At this point, I have so many passwords, and they're all different. So, and it's so easy. We do a lot of social engineering exercises for customers. Just by going through, in a matter of minutes, I can go through Facebook and LinkedIn, and I can find the name of your pet, which people use a lot for their, and I can do the
everybody's birthday,
0, 1 asterisk. I can do 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end of it. Pretty easy, just without even tools, just to gather information, understand what your birthday is, understand your kids' names, understand the kids' birthdays. They're all posted on social media.
Where you went to school at, what the
Right.
mascot was.
Right. And so you have challenge and response things, and those are generally what town were you born in?
Right.
You know,
birthday, date, name.
What's your favorite sports team? 99% of people have Chiefs in Kansas City as their favorite sports team. So, you know, it's just, if it says what's your favorite sports team, put in Ralph, right? It doesn't have to be a sports team.
Sure,
right?
do something.
Right.
Yeah.
So just understand that when, you know, anyway, so just simple things like that. I recommend, you know, the credit checks.
Yeah, make sure nothing's happening in your credit you're not aware of.
Right.
What about on the phones? Like we, you know, here at Infinitas, we have to have all of our phones with encryption and all of our, everything's encrypted. The home office does all that stuff for us, but on your cell phone you have to have a passcode to get into it too. But a lot of people don't do that, and I think that's probably
you definitely want to lock any device that you have, right? That's a no-brainer. You got to do that.
Right.
We generally will recommend two-factor authentication, which is something you know and something that you have. It's very easy to do these days on cell phones and workstations and whatever. So
right.
So my question might not be like cybersecurity insurance, but maybe cyber liability insurance. So let's say that, you know, the ransomware attack at ABC company came because their consultant at XYZ company screwed something up and they can pin it on the XYZ professional. Is there insurance that will cover him since he messed up?
Absolutely. Because we're so interconnected now.
Yeah.
We have so many partners in our ecosystem where we're moving data back and forth. And quite frankly, I'll bring up another breach that happened, which a few years ago, was the Target breach, right? And Target spends millions of dollars on cybersecurity. Target wasn't breached. Target's HVAC system partner was breached, and that's how they got
HVAC got into the credit cards?
Yes.
How in the world did that happen?
So I probably don't have time to
Yeah,
tell you exactly how
it
it
happened,
happened, but it happened.
Yeah.
But that's not unusual. I mean, we have clients currently today that, you know, after that breach, you know, we put some monitoring on. We found the exact same hole in their HVAC, and we're able to preventative, you know, get in there and block that. But that's, I mean, we all depend on so many partners and third parties and yes, there's lots of litigation out there right now, which we lost millions because we were breached, but we were breached because you, partner, didn't do your due diligence around security.
And there's probably a backup of those cases too. It might
be
years before it's something.
Right.
So that, kind of reminds. So a lot of folks on the team are younger, and they're a lot more tech users than I am. And so, Christina, for example, her and Sean have voice control locked down to their house, and all the video cameras throughout the house and outside, and they can see if the garage door opens. They know about it. Smart house stuff, right?
Yeah.
But is that because you mentioned the HVAC? If you're getting too computer oriented, then somebody from the outside can remote get into your stuff. Is it going too far sometimes?
It is, absolutely. And so we see a lot of companies that actually have funded cybersecurity, and so they've got the money, and so they'll go out and buy more and more and more tools. And our conversation with them is about, you know, each one of those new security things that you just put on is a new access point for someone to break into. So just here recently, SolarWinds was a huge hack that impacted lots of people, and we're still seeing the impact of that. That's a tool that people trusted, but you know, the bad guys realized that, and put their nasty work in that, and that's how they affected, you know, so many people. So same way with the house security. I think it's great that people have eyes on their doorbell, and they know when the garage door is open. But again, there can be malicious code in those. You know, people can drive by, jump on your Wi-Fi remotely. So it really is a balancing. It's that balancing act of risk and productivity.
Sometimes too much medicine's not the cure.
Right, absolutely.
Joe, how about you? You got anything in particular?
You know, I don't know if you can really touch base on this. I know a lot of work that I do is on the individual side, and you mentioned, individuals having vulnerabilities, ID theft, and you see a bunch of marketing around ID theft protection.
Yeah.
A lot of organizations coming. Do you see similar type organizations evolving from the cybersecurity side, or even with these ID theft protection organizations? Are these? I know, especially with the older population, this can be very overwhelming for them.
Oh yeah.
So is there a resource or anything that you can recommend for individuals that may be technologically challenged to go to, or just somewhere simple to start?
Yeah, I am not a paid spokesperson for AARP, but they do a really nice job of evaluating, especially for that population, and giving recommendations on that. But again, identity theft protection is something that I would recommend to any individual, because it is life-changing. It's devastating. When it happens, it takes years to rebound from that. I will also touch on something that I talked about briefly when we do a lot of work with EDU, K-12 or organizations. The identity theft right now, the target is the children. It's very young children. If they can steal their identity, their social security numbers, and I'm going to throw numbers out, and people can fact check me and tell me I'm wrong. But I want to give you a scale. So if someone stole Bruce's identity right now, they would sell his identity for 25 cents on the dark web. If someone stole a 4-year-old's identity, their social security number and their information, that would sell for $25 a record.
Just because nobody's going to find out about it.
No one will know for 18 years.
Yeah.
Right, till they apply for credit, and then it's so.
So you probably should check your kids.
Right. Absolutely, and again, that's why a lot of our focus is around municipalities and EDU to protect the identity of the children, and we see a lot of breaches in the EDU space.
Right.
So.
I've got a couple of our members of our IBE, our Independent Business Edge consulting group that you're a member of, and that we head up. They're online today. I don't know if they have any questions or not, but do you mind if we just kind of kick it over?
No, I'd love to.
John Vose of LSCV and Tim Emerson, merchant services expert and payroll expert. I see you guys are on the call. You're muted right now. I don't think I have to do anything to unmute you, but if you want to ask a question or whatnot, fire away.
And Tim and John, we have gifts if you can stump the chump. So
there's John. John's unmuted. Go, John.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to jump in here, and as a CPA, obviously we've got tons and tons of confidential information on our clients all over the place, and I know that we've worked with Jeff a little bit on assessing our risk areas, and I don't really have a specific question necessarily, but more so just kind of speaking to the job that Jeff did for us, and I assume when he's speaking on things, he knows what he's talking about and really pointed us in some good directions with our firm as far as things to look at, things to improve on.
Thanks, John. You win a gift for just for saying that.
He gets the Brownies Award.
Yes, absolutely. No, it was actually actually it was great working with John and his team. They were very proactive about protecting the data of their clients, and took some of those steps that they needed to take. That I guess obviously I wish everyone would do. So
it's going to be a continuous improvement environment. Like you said, there's always going to be that 0 day. That the first time it happens, now everybody knows about it. You got to get ready for that one too.
Right.
And then the next attack or the next different variant or whatever the case is.
It's not a one and done.
It's here to stay. It's not going to go away unless they start catching these people and killing them. Maybe
I am not,
public execution or something.
I'm not advocating any of that. I'm just staying away from that topic.
Tim, I see you're unmuted there. You got any questions for Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for your presentation. Appreciate it. And Bruce moderating. My question is as far as transferring information from customers. So we have they have the ability obviously to use our tools to upload, but many times they ask if we can utilize their tools. And I find many times that they're either wanting to transfer the information through a tool, which requires us to get second authentication. And a lot of times we find that the companies aren't ultimately utilizing those tools, so they're only as good as if their employees are using them. What's your, when you have lots of clients, we're a payroll business, when you have lots of different clients transmitting information to you, any ideas on how you would try to present that? Would you mandate that all your clients upload that information through?
Yeah. So there's definitely some really strong protocols out there for transferring data. You want your data encrypted at rest and in transit. So when it's moving and when it's setting, you want it encrypted. And those are pretty standard protocol, but they've been around for a long time, and so there's old versions of it that are a lot easier to hack than the newer versions. So I'm going to answer a question this way in saying that when I talked about us focusing on the CSE top 18 critical controls. One of those controls is about vendor management, and it's about doing your due diligence about how you transfer data, whether they have the certain protocols in place. And so we recommend that to customers, and that's one particular control that you can look at and make sure that you have standards. And if you have the ability to mandate the protocol, then absolutely. Sometimes you don't. Perhaps you would bring that. Whether you're bringing the data in or sending the data out, maybe a staging area to make sure that everything's clean and encrypted and those kind of things. So, Tim, I will tell you that we're doing some work right now in an area that might be interesting to you, in that we're working with national gas stations where you've got 6,000 locations. You don't have an IT staff, but you've got mag strip readers in the pumps, and those kind of things. So trying to figure out how to monitor whether that data has been tampered with, making sure that it's encrypted and those kind of things. Again, there's so many applications.
Right.
I could go on and on about whatever gas pumps and libraries and
maybe point of sale materials.
Yeah, really.
Or
point of sale. It's got personal information.
Right.
Healthcare information is all over the place. So PII, HIPAA comes into play, and there's so many compliances. And if you do business, obviously across state lines, then you've got individual. You've got California privacy laws. You've got NYDFS if you do any business in New York. GDPR. I mean, it's on and on. It's overwhelming.
And there's probably no succinct national system, or you just said that there's not.
Right.
It's like the the electrical world. A lot of the stuff's standardized any place in the world, or at least nationally, but there's not in this case.
And so you think about it's a great place to be in cybersecurity right now, because you've got your OT networks. Where it's a little bit different version of how data moves back and forth. You've got the IoT, the Internet of Things. You've got smart cities where you think about the rolling impact of a hacker taking over a stoplight.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Right? You might not think it's that big a deal. It might cause a wreck or whatever. They can create backups and traffic jams, and then so
Emergency response vehicles.
right.
The whole
And,
yards.
and so what they do, it's a cascading attack. That might be the vector that they go after.
Sure.
And do that one thing, but their master plan is something else. It's robbing a bank. or
Yeah, they're
something,
gonna knock
right?
off that armored car that's
Right,
stuck
because
in traffic,
everyone,
right?
So anyway, it's a fascinating world to
Yeah.
be in. So
Well, I think, and this has been great, and I don't know if there's any last questions or not from any of the other members of IBE. Looks like they're muted right now. Guys here in the room, anything else that you want to ask?
That's for me.
Good. Do you want to just sum up last few seconds what businesses should do?
yeah, just I think one, it really is about a risk approach. So
Mhm.
understand your data, understand what's at risk, understand what your risk tolerance is, and then focus on 3 areas, and that's people, process, and technology.
Mhm.
So make sure your people are trained and aware constantly. You're doing continuous phishing tests
Right.
where you can grade how well your people are doing
Mhm.
and put preventative training in there if people are continuing to fail that, because the human firewall really is your biggest risk right
Sure.
now. We are humans and we make mistakes.
Yeah.
From a technology perspective, make sure that you've got your perimeter protected, which is your firewall, it's your
Mhm.
outside.
Mhm.
Make sure that you've got your last sign of defense, which is your endpoint, you know, antivirus and those kind of things. So you got your outside, you got your very inside, and then everything that happens in between there. Make sure that you're monitoring it, and your IT health is your patching is literally the biggest problem
Mhm.
right now. Right, if you're not patching regularly, you don't have a schedule. That's where the bad guys just lick their chops.
Yeah.
And then from a process perspective, make sure you understand what you're going to do. If something happens, make sure that you've got everything documented, not only documented from a policy and procedure perspective, but make sure people know it.
Mhm. Practice
Right.
fire drill.
Right? Make sure they know what those rules and regulations are. Audit against whether you're actually requiring strong passwords,
Mhm.
right? So, but yeah, I mean that's about as much as I can boil it down. It's all
Sure.
about people, process, and technology. It's not an easy job. It's not a cheap job.
Sure.
But make sure, I would also recommend, and maybe that's because it's the business that I'm in,
Mhm.
but Bruce, you're in the business of wealth management, right? You're not in the
Right.
business of cybersecurity. So find a good team
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
focused right on
Yeah,
cybersecurity.
do what you do
right?
well, and then hire
I-
the experts to do the rest
Yeah,
of it.
I don't manage my wealth.
Yeah.
You do that for me, right? So, but yeah, get good partners that you trust, and make them part of your family.
Yeah.
So,
Very good. If somebody sees the video and or is online and wants to know how to get a hold of you, how can they reach out to you?
we've got some really, really great new blog content on our website, Raven, RAVENII.com. You can catch us on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and wherever you like to hang out. We're probably there. So look us up, give me a call, and we'll have a chat. We also, if anyone listening to this is interested in us coming in just for an hour, or hour and a half, 2 hours, and just sitting down and talking about your business, would absolutely do that free of charge.
Thanks again, Jeff. Appreciate it. Great job.
You bet, man.
Thanks, guys, for being on.